So, Gabi, just introduce yourself. We've had you with us previously, I think earlier in the year, but those of us that have not sort of heard about you or experienced your incredible services, tell us more about yourself, Gabi.
Great, thank you. So I have a PhD. I finished my own thesis a couple of years ago. And the reason I start with that is because I've been there. I've been through the journey. I always like to say I was not the most elegant thesis student. I didn't find it easy. Who finds their PhDs easy? I don't know. I certainly didn't. It was hard. It took resilience. It took dedication. It took commitment. I wanted to give up. I didn't. I stayed with it. And so, yeah, the reason I start with that is to say I've been where you are if you're working on any long form writing project, whether it's a thesis or not. And my experience of going through it myself and then working with students on their writing through different capacities, my role at the University of Cape Town as a lecturer, working at their writing center, working one-on-one with students on their writing, I just realized how valuable and energizing I found it to work with students on their writing and to be able to help them through the journey. And because of that, I started my business called My Thesis Coach, where I work with students from around South Africa and overseas who are working on their own thesis journeys and or thesis projects. And I slot in wherever they are. So some of my clients are just starting out. They know they want to do a master's or a PhD, or they know they have to write an honors project, but they don't know what to do it on. So I help them formulate a topic. I help them look into what they're interested in. So some of them are right at the beginning, coming up with ideas. And we look at, some students are generating proposals still, so I provide input into that. And then other students are collecting their data, people are writing. So really my passion is to slot in wherever people need the most support. And I think, going back to what I said at the beginning about my experience as a student, I had fantastic supervisors. I'm really grateful to them for their support. But I see many people don't have that kind of support, or even if they do, they need something extra. And I'm really grateful that I have the opportunity to come in there and help people along their journeys.
Wonderful, Gabi. And we're going to share your website, and we'll have a look at your blog a little bit later so that people know where to contact you and what kind of value they can get from you. So thanks for that introduction. But just give us an idea of what are the sort of top 1 or 2 or 3 challenges that people are having specifically with regards to getting their thesis finished. I think you've given us a sort of a high-level sense of the frustration and the emotional aspects. But typically when you go in to help people and sort of get them going on their journey, can you just pick out, what are those common themes that maybe people can then relate to and that we can then deep dive on in terms of solving those problems?
Okay, for sure. So I think one thing which really stands out for me is that people often don't have a sense of the big picture of thesis writing. And by big picture, I mean that this is it's a big thing that needs to get done by a particular date. But I find many of the clients that I work with aren't able to conceptualize all the little small bits and pieces that lead up to that finished product. So, you know that you've got this thing you need to finish and this beast you need to get done, but not really a sense of what you need to do in order to get to that finished place. So a lot of the work that I do with my clients is about saying, okay, so you need to finish your thesis. Where are we? So we figure out where we are, and then what still needs to be done. And so we break it down. Sometimes it's into chapters. Sometimes it's into sections. Sometimes it's into collecting data. What are your different methodologies? How long do you have to go? How long do you have to do all of those different things? And for a lot of the times, it's about coming up with a plan about how you're going to manage to finish those different steps of the project by the time you get to that date of handing in. So a lot of the times, I'd say it's about helping my clients conceptualize what needs to happen in order for the project to get done. So that's the one thing. And then another thing I always say to my clients and my students at UCT, academic writing is nobody's first language. No one is born just knowing how to write academically, right? It's not the same as the way we write. And, all my clients are amazing professionals in their particular fields. But, the doctor writes like a doctor, and the engineer writes like an engineer, and the economist writes like an economist. But then suddenly you're in this weird academic space where you need to use certain conventions and adhere to particular styles. And so very often it's about explaining the conventions to my clients and then helping them see how they can use those conventions to articulate their ideas in an academic way. So I think I would say that's a big one as well for me.
Okay, fantastic. And Gabi, your post this week was titled "The Best Thing My Supervisor Ever Said to Me." So I'll stick that up on the screen. But I mean, just give us an idea. What was the best thing that your supervisor ever said to you?
Okay, so I'll paint a little bit of the picture before I get to the actual words. So I took 4.5 years to do my PhD, and I had a baby. I got married at the beginning. It sort of like spanned my life. So I got married, and then I had a baby, and all that time I was trying to keep up with work. But everyone listening to this webinar will know that life happens. There's a lot that happens along the way. And then I got to the point where I was like, I can't. It had been about 3.5 years, maybe a little bit more. And I was like, I actually can't do this. I need to carry on with my life. This project needs to finish. So I set myself an impossible goal. I don't know, I can't quantify it. Maybe I'd written maybe a quarter. I'd collected my data, but I didn't have a lot done. And I said, you know what, I'm finishing this. 6 months, it's in, it's done, it's gone. And so I set myself this ridiculous goal, which actually, once I graduated, my supervisor said, I never thought you'd be able to get this done. But I gave up everything. I worked every night. I came back to my computer when my husband was sitting down to watch series. I was like, no, I can't. I said no to social activities. I had to turn down family when they invited me out. I made it my focus and my priority. So I was in this in the space where I was dedicated and I knew I needed to finish it, but it was hard. It was lonely. It was a slog. Anyway, I sent something off to my supervisors. It was around this stage I sent something off to my supervisors to read. And my supervisor wrote back and she said, I can see it on your screen, Peter. So she wrote back the feedback and then she said, I can see you crossing the stage in the red gown, which will look great on you. And yeah, it was I'd been so like stuck in this world of words and knowledge and ideas that I hadn't taken a moment to step out and think, wow, this could actually happen. There's going to be a graduation. I'm going to have that red coat. I'm going to cross that stage. So her putting it into words and articulating it just gave me the push to say, I can achieve this goal. I can keep going. And I think the way she stated it, she was so certain that I'd achieve it, that her belief in me also fed back into my own belief that I could actually make this thing happen. And I did. I kept those words with me. They just sat with me through those long, lonely nights, through the questioning, through the angst, through the difficulty. And those really pushed me through and kept me going through all those things, the coffee spilling, which you've got on the screen, all the other things. I knew I was going to do
it. Did you have a backup though, I hope?
Of course. And that's actually one of the things I always say to my clients, you're supposed to offer all this deep feedback into how you work with the thing and how to craft arguments. But often my input is just like, remember to back everything up because of the coffee spilling incident.